live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to day
Hello.
of TestMu 2024. Hope you had a pretty good time day before yesterday and yesterday as well. We had some pretty exciting sessions yesterday, and we have a pretty great session just before that from Jason himself. And I hope the same energy will continue today as well. We have a very great sessions for you lined up today. Starting with this one, today's panel we are going to discuss accelerating the path to quality excellence using AI. And joining me today are some of the biggest names from some of the biggest tech companies in the world. And I'm pretty excited to present their uh, concentrated knowledge in front of you guys. And yeah, but before we get started, few items want to highlight. First of all, again, we get this question a lot. All our sessions are recorded, so at the end of the session, you will be able to see this recording. And at the end of the conference, we'll be uploading all the recordings on our YouTube channel. So feel free to check out over there. Along with that, we have a Q&A section in the right side where you will be able to ask your questions. If time permits, I'll ensure that we include those questions in our panel discussion today. But otherwise, we'll be try to answer them over our community portal or LinkedIn or even in the YouTube section when it happens. But yeah, feel I would request everybody to keep the discussion in the chat civil. Let's not spam anything, but you can spam the emojis in the bottom, and it would be a great booster for our confidence when you do that, right? So yeah, getting started. So joining me today are, as I said, some of the biggest name. I'll ask the guests to introduce themselves. Starting with me, I'm Mudit, one of the founding team members at Lambda Test, and I head the marketing part. And I'll be your host today in the session. Along with me, joining is Mobin Thomas, head of quality at UST, Satish Venugopalan, Director at Infosys Client Services. Along with that, Suraj Yadav, Vice President, Quality Kiosk, Rani Priya, Practice Director and Head of Quality Engineering at Wipro, Ritwik Mrug, Director and Quality Assurance Leader at Cognizant. So, but I'll ask these guys to introduce themselves in a little bit more detail. Mobin, I think we can start with you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Mobin Thomas, I lead the quality engineering in quality engineering for about 23 years now. Good to be part of the panel.
Satish.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Satish Venugopal, Director of Engineering Services for Infosys. With over 2 decades of experience in quality engineering transformation, I had the privilege of working with some of the large enterprises in the world and supporting them on the quality engineering transformation using the next-gen technologies like AI and ML. So I'm really excited to be part of this panel. And looking forward to explore how AI and ML is redefining and reshaping the quality engineering landscape in the software development lifecycle. Thanks for having me.
Rani Priya.
Hello, I'm Rani Priya. I'm a quality engineering practitioner with Wipro. I have been partnering with our customers in their digital transformation journey through quality engineering of both products as well as services for the last 20 plus years. Currently, I head the quality engineering practice delivery in Wipro for the Americas across industry verticals. Thank you, Lambda Test, for giving an opportunity, and I'm really glad to be within this panel along with my colleagues in the industry. Thank you.
Suraj.
Hey, hello everyone. My name is Suraj. I've been working with QualityKiosk for more than 13 years now, heading the solution consulting practice. Happy to be once again in the panelist talking around the topic for AI. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting event for all of you. Look forward to have many more questions and keeping this session interactive.
So, Ritwik.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good morning, good evening from wherever you are joining. Thanks, Lambda Test, for having us over here. Looking forward for this discussion. I am part of Cognizant for almost 2 decades now. Currently working on to the technology part of the world, focusing on the emerging technology, including AI, GenAI. So it will be one of the DA topic for me to discuss about AI, GenAI into this panel, right? So looking forward for that. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you guys for taking the time out and joining us in the session. So let me quickly jump into the most important question. So starting with that, yeah, like AI has been around for now 2 3 years. Uh, for past, I'll say 12 months, it has also started to make an inroad as a practical applications, and big enterprises like UST Global, Infosys, Wipro, Cognizant, everybody has started to even incorporate that into their daily software development practices as well. So for the people who are still behind this schedules, to still planning or thinking to incorporate AI-based technologies into their workflows, I want to start off with what should be the initial steps. Mobin, I think we can start off you. What would be the initial steps that organizations should take to make themselves ready to incorporate AI-based technologies specifically in their quality assurance processes?
Yeah, I would say it is a gradual process, right? With any change comes, diligence, a structured approach, etc. So first step would be to kind of look at what is the current maturity of the organization itself, and with the change in terms of, we used to have centralized QA teams, we kind of moved away from that model. So what does that mean from a quality and quality engineering standpoint? So I think getting some of those fundamentals in place in terms of policies, procedures, understanding the maturity itself from a people process standpoint, I think that is one aspect of it. The second is, once you figure that aspect out, then looking at what are the efficiencies that you want to build as part of that. So even before you jump on a bandwagon adopting a tool, I think getting the foundational elements of understanding where your inefficiencies lie, is the fundamental aspect. So once you get that part out, there are fairly mature practices, which are already in place. So for example, using clustering for things like understanding duplications in your tests, right? So those are fairly mature practices which are already there, which can give you maximum benefits from an adoption standpoint. So once we get to that state, that's when, I think we struggle with a lot of lack of information, right? Today there are data sitting in silos. So for example, there may be a test management tool where there may be defect related information or test execution related information, application hotspot information. So bringing all of this together into one singular platform or capability, so that you have the ability to make decisions and then drive efficiencies, right? So that, I would say, is kind of an approach. While tool is a means to get to that, some of the foundational elements would be, I think, the critical aspect, Mudit, which I think the customers should focus on first, or organizations should focus on first, before we get to the the next steps in terms of using AI, Gen AI, etc.
So that's pretty saying a great, interesting point. So Satish, coming to you, like I'm quite sure Infosys, both internally and for their end clients, would be incorporating AI-based technology. So what are the steps that you highlight to them before they can get started with that?
Yeah. No, well, I would suggest, I think, Mobin touched upon a very critical aspects of setting the foundation right? I think, that's a very important part, assess your current QA process and identify areas where AI can add value. So that is a very important step, be it predictive analytics, or, it can help you, bring in intelligence to your automation, or if a team is doing some kind of a manual analysis, there we can bring in intelligence and try to automate that part. So setting up the base foundation is very important, so that we can set the clear objective first. And following that, I think some of the additional steps I would suggest is to, invest on the right AI tool. So that, that would align to your organization tech stack, right? So, it would be a great idea to start with the pilot programs and test these tools, how the integration works, so that, we don't end up something, bringing in your tech stack and where we are not able to connect and, work, because AI is something which needs a seamless integration. The data has to flow seamlessly in a more real-time manner. So testing those things and ensuring that you are investing on the right tool is one of the very important aspects. And again, I know it goes without saying, data is going to be very key, right? So you have to prepare your data. So you have to ensure, your data is very, clean, consistent, and it is, representing your process very well. So preparing data is very important. Investing on the right tool, preparing the right data, that is, I would say, another, key important initial steps that organizations should start looking. And besides that, once we stall out, I think another aspect is to bring in, start with the area where it is less critical, right? Goes, and once you see the success, then you can expand your thing. So when you're starting, you have to identify the right area and then start slowly see success and then expand your, implementation. So that would ensure us to get a very successful AI implementation.
Yeah, so kind of triaging in the opposite way. So finding out
That's
the area which has least business risk, start an experiment over there, and then build upon to the business risk parts, right? So coming to you, Rani Priya, we got a chance to interact with Rituparna just yesterday from Wipro, and she shared a lot of insights around the AI. And I know that Wipro team is pretty ahead in the AI game. One great point that even Satish highlighted, like AI tooling, it's very important to select the right tooling for your team as well. And of course, tech stack plays a role. But what other considerations Wipro made when they were incorporating AI into their workflows or for their end clients' workflows?
In fact, no, when it comes to tooling, any organization would look at fundamentally a buy or build proposition. Building can be in collaboration with the SI partner, and buying can be off-the-shelf product as well. So, whatever be their tooling strategy, the organizations will have to fundamentally look at three aspects. One is ease of customization. Another one is ease of integration with the existing application landscape. And third one is, of course, the scalability. So fundamentally, when when we speak about the customization, how easy it is to customize the AI tool to align to the current organization's processes as well as the technology landscape. That is very critical. And when it comes to integration, the tool will have to be easily integrated with the upstream and the downstream applications. This actually makes the entire workflow autonomous, which means there is no manual intervention required to pump in data into the tool as well as to leverage the output which is given by the tool. So this, in fact, amplifies the effectiveness or the impact of the AI tool. So the autonomous workflow is very critical. So the integration becomes critical because of that. Now, the next aspect is the scalability in terms of depth as well as breadth. When I say scalability in terms of depth, the POC is done with a very limited data for one or two particular applications in a particular LOB. But when this POC is extended to a live application, in a production application, the number of the volume of data is so huge. So is the tool still giving the same effectiveness and the accuracy of the output is what matters. Again, when it comes to the breadth of the scalability, the tool should be an enterprise-wide tool. Organizations do not have the hunger to bring in multiple tools to align to various LOBs and various technologies. Right. So these are some of the considerations when it comes to choosing the right tool.
All right. So, Suraj, I want to hear your perspective on this. QualityKiosk as a leader in specifically in the quality engineering side. What has been your experience in selecting the right tooling for the customers?
Yeah, I will say I think AI has been at the core of all the quality engineering practices. But at the same time, we have also seen many of our clients becoming very overwhelmed with AI technology, where we get into experimenting first in terms of how it will do. And lately, we realize possibly the benefits that we are trying to achieve from AI is not kind of particularly coming out. And that's where this question becomes very important for us, is why is really selecting the AI tool is crucial at the beginning stage itself, because it requires a whole lot of investment in terms of time, cost, and of course the overall things that we kind of look at in terms of the expectations. So while Priya has covered most of the points, if I have to really add in terms of what possibly can be needed at the beginning, is first of all the alignment with your objectives. Okay, for every customer or maybe every particular project may have their own perspective of what you really expect from the tool. Not that everybody may have a common goal. It depends upon what is the kind of business objective you're trying to drive for your organization. That is the same thing that you'll ideally expect from a tool. Second is you will also want to see is in terms of the user friendliness of the particular tool. Some tools may come up with best of the best features in terms of supporting all the things, but what if your teams are not very user friendly to adopt it? Okay, that's where your learning curve also increases. So that defeats the purpose of the tool. So it's not only about the capability of the tool, but also about the adoption equally, because that's
Mhm.
where you will want your teams also. And AI is a technology which is going to augment your actual testing, right? That's where we want to look at and how it's going to benefit. Finally, I may also tell, today it's not the call that we have to take in terms of where we choose the tool with the current things that the tool supports. We also have to see what is the future plan in terms of growth or in terms of the technology vision that the particular OEM carries. Some of the tools may support you in terms of certain features. So the testing life cycle is not the same as about it was prevalent a decade before. Now we see AI is kind of getting into each phase of the life cycle. It's not only that you kind of adopt or maybe want to implement AI only in an execution phase.
Mhm.
AI is challenging human in every aspect of the life cycle, made right from the time when we understand the requirements from business till the time even after your requirements have moved into production. So it's all about seeing where and how do you want to implement AI, and eventually what is the kind of business benefit that you'll want to derive from it. So all these factors, all in all, eventually can help you make a right decision to go for the best tool for you. That's what it is.
Great. That's pretty interesting points. And like workflows, how the usability of the tool, all of these are kind of also dependent upon the feedback loops. So you start implementing a tool, team starts to use it, and they start to share feedbacks both internally and clients, how business objective meets. And that's a pretty important aspect, because nobody has started to implement AI. So the feedback loop, how it works using an AI tool, is also a little bit different. So Ritvik, coming to you, like how the Cognizant tackles this problem, like how do you set up a feedback loop in an AI based system so that continuous learning happens in the continuous, in the controlled environment, continuous testing happens?
Yeah, a good point. Good question, Mudit. So I was reading somewhere one Gartner report, right, where they asked which of the hesitant area in AI adoption, right? And one of the point that many of the respondents said is a trust into the system, and trust can be achieved if you do a feedback often in the life cycle, right? Before you do a
Mhm.
deployment into the system, and after doing a deployment also, you don't forget the AI model, but you continuously get the feedback, right? So before deploying the model, right, you probably would like to do a very comprehensive way of validation, right? Just to give a trust, you wanted to ensure that you use the right amount of data, the right quality of a data which your model is using, any kind of model, be it machine learning model, generative AI model, any kind of model, right? You wanted to ensure that your model is aligned to the business criteria. Model is not having a kind of a structural problem like a bias and likes of that, right? So all of this gives you a kind of good confidence before you go live, right? So that's prior to go live, a comprehensive validation is must, right? And that's one of the way to kind of bring more stability before we even go into the actual feedback mechanism post live. Post live also, right? The way the AI has been a kind of research, right? Not only the number of models but number of techniques, right? For example, in the area of observability, right? Just like what we have a Dynatrace and likes of that, which focus on your traditional production system. There are plenty of tools nowadays which is focusing on to the AI observability, right? If I can take a
Yeah.
names, Y labs and what many of them, right? So what their job is to keep checking. It is not the manual way of doing it. Just like a traditional application, you will have a observability which is driven by a tool which continuously check, is my model's accuracy performance is getting drift, is
Mhm.
my model behaving differently now, do I need to change anything in the model, right? So it gives
Yep.
those feedback on a continuous basis. And then also you will have a human in a loop, right? Because you can't avoid, even though we are talking about AI, human can't be neglected or can't be avoided, right? So you would have many of our customers have human in a loop simple chatbot, right? You are typing a chatbot gives me an answer. Even a ChatGPT asks you, is this helpful or it is not helpful, right? That's a feedback. If I'm saying that there is a lot of thumbs up, that means my model is doing good, right? If there are not many thumbs up, that means that there is some issues in the way it has been done, right? So from the end user as well as that observability platform, that gives me the kind of a feedback post the model has been in a live, right? So before model into the production and after the model in production, it needs continuous monitoring, because trust is what we wanted to tackle it.
Awesome. That's pretty interesting point, right? Because all AI is based on a learning model, and learning model means feedback. So it won't learn until unless we give them feedback, like it's a right feedback, it's a wrong feedback, right? And another point that was pretty interesting that I find was related to observability. So observability is looking into large set of data and finding out insights, and that clicks to another question that I had in mind, because everybody is talking about Gen AI right now, because again, OpenAI is something that has changed the world. But AI has a very important application even before the OpenAI aspect, from the likes of IBM, Watson, finding out insights from large set of data. So kind of like AI-based predictive analysis. So in fact, this is something Wipro is also excelling at. So Rani, coming back to you. So we have seen a lot of things that can help through Gen AI part of things. But what about AI's predictive features, the predictive maintenance models that can be used for things like finding out downtimes, for things like finding out the product quality predictions, right? So what's your take on it?
Modit, you have touched upon a very interesting topic. This is one of the very, very powerful applications of AI, in my view. When we receive communication from our, say our banking service provider that the application is going to be down for the annual maintenance process, what does it mean? It impacts the end user experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Similarly, in a retail application, if the application continuously goes down, or it is having continuous outages and the application is being brought down for maintenance, etc., it impacts the user experience. And what will the user do? He will just switch brands, isn't it?
Yeah.
So AI can, in fact, intervene in this area and bring about a lot of business impact. How can that happen? We can look at it from two perspectives. One is a proactive perspective, and another one is a reactive perspective. On the proactive front, the AI models they can production data. They can come up with the different kind of patterns of failure. And if this data is the analysis is passed on to the command center and the maintenance teams, this can be used by them to prevent a potential failure in future. They can proactively roll out production fixes, and then they can prevent failure in the production systems. While this is predictive, AI can also be prescriptive in nature. By analyzing the historical patterns and the kind of fixes which were rolled out for these historical patterns, AI can also prescribe what kind of fix can go into a certain kind of anomaly which is observed. So this will help the maintenance teams to reduce the turnaround time for the fixes which are rolled out. Right. Another application of AI would be to observe the anomalies and the abnormal behavior of applications. And this data, when it is passed on to the command center or the maintenance support maintenance teams, this can definitely help in preventing a potential failure in the production. Right. Now, apart from that, there is one interesting thing which is on the observability front, wherein AI can help in coming up with the health check dashboards and health check scores. So organizations need not do the maintenance or the periodic maintenance of all their applications periodically. They can rely on the dashboard and the kind of scores, the ranking given by the AI, to decide which application has to undergo an immediate maintenance and which application can wait for the maintenance. So this eventually brings down the downtime of the application, and it eventually brings down the cycle time as well, which is required for maintenance from one cycle to the other cycle, right? And also, when it comes to the reactive front, the AI tools can definitely help in analyzing the historical failure patterns, get into the root of it, identify the root cause, and help the teams to roll out the fixes for the root cause, which can prevent a future failure. So these are some of the ways in which AI can intervene to create stable products, stable applications, reliable applications, ensure business continuity, and also create superior user experience. That's what it is. We are all experience. I mean, we are all wanting, right? As end users, all of us want superior user experience, right? And that eventually has a direct correlation to brand loyalty. So effectively, there is an impact on the business for this particular application of AI.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting point. We talked about observability, we talk about predictive analysis, debugging, and also another way, root cause analysis. So coming back to you, I want to expand on this part as well. Like, what more disruptive features you see in AI that can, I will say, not to disrupt the quality assurance process, but maybe enhance the overall quality engineering process. So most like best applications of AI in that field.
Yeah, I think from a maturity standpoint today, Mudit, maybe, if you look at it from a shift left, if you can, classify it into two or three different categories, right? So one, from a shift left standpoint, I think where we're seeing a lot of effectiveness already is in, for example, user story validations for conformance to a certain standard, or, are there, multiple requirements in the same user story described, etc. So making you are using Gen AI or AI capabilities to kind of influence upstream behavior. I think that is one use case which I've seen, fairly mature, in terms of adoption already, right? Similarly, from a test script creation standpoint, so for example, take a manual test case, can you automatically convert it into a script, right? So those kind of use cases, I think there is fair level of maturity there. Similarly, from a data standpoint, and this is, where everybody struggles with, right? It is the longest pole always in the execution cycle. So now, how do you use, for example, synthetic data generation using Gen AI to make sure that there is enough volume variety that is available? So that from a overall testing or functional test lifecycle, this is where I see a lot of use cases already being mature enough. Second, from a performance testing standpoint, and for example, doing predictive performance analytics, right? Scale down environment, can I predict? Or based on failure analytics and things that Priya talked about, how can you use that to predict when to actually do a full-blown performance test cycle, right? As you more and more move into a sprint-based model, where is that need, or where do you recommend a hardening sprint, for example, right? So those are places where I see fair level of maturity. But then as you progress into some more deeper concepts, right, I think those are more around, for example, bringing in comprehensiveness in terms of your test coverage. So while today you may have the ability to create some level of test scenarios using AI, with an RAG layer built on top of it, etc., but that human in the loop still needs to be there, right? Because the domain context, user experience context, etc., sometimes I think is kind of missing in today's models, right? Similarly, we do a lot of work in the healthcare space, so things like accessibility is very important to a lot of our customers. So there, for example, there is a lot of way to go, in terms of leveraging Gen AI for some of those. I know there is a session coming in from DQ. There, for example, they're kind of using that as as a co-pilot, right? As a guide with a human in the loop as well, right? So I see this evolving in two ways, where you kind of tag team along with a Gen AI capability to bring in more efficiencies, and some places, it is fairly autonomous, in terms of the capability already available.
So, Mobin, that in fact kind of touch bases on a very important point. And Satish, I think I would take your views on this. Human in the loop, like even though AI has evolved a lot, there's still a human in the loop is required. And one of the challenges why that is still there is because of biases, like the data biases that come in, the AI-based biases come in. So, Satish, what's your take on it? Like how somebody can ensure that the quality management or the quality management of the process tool or anything that we are working on is not affected by the existing biases in the AI system.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, right? I think, as we all know, when it comes to AI, data plays a very key role. I think that is the fundamental, right? Because AI as a solution, AI as an algorithm, it learns, what to predict. What the intelligence comes from the data. So whatever data that you feed in to train your AI model is going to play a very key role, in the success of it. Otherwise, I think you have to look at AI. Mostly, what we look at is AI. We should not look at AI as a normal software that we develop, right? So we develop a software; it will constantly keep giving you output. But AI is an intelligent solution which is going to learn from the data that it is seeing every day. So it is going to evolve. So I think, as Ritvik and Mobin and Priya pointed out, I think the human in the loop, constant monitoring of the performance is going to be important. So when it comes to that, I would really look at this into three levels, right? So how to ensure that AI solution that you're building is not biased. So I would break that into three parts. One is while building the AI solution, we have to ensure we are doing a thorough audit on the data. So we have to ensure that there is no bias, there is no underrepresentation in the data. So for example, when you're building a predictive solution, and we have to make sure the data whatever you're providing to train the model is not coming from one functional area or one module, right? So it has to have a representation across so that it can learn how the different functionality works and so on. So thorough audit of data is very important. There are certain bias detection tools that we can use to ensure that there is no bias in the data that we are feeding to train the model in the first place. Even if the data is not sufficient, there are some data augmentation techniques here we can use to create the data, right? I think curate the data, that is really important. That is the first important step to ensure there is no bias while you're building the model. So when you productionize it, when you're actually deploying the models to the production, we have to ensure that there is a constant fairness awareness that we are testing. So we have to ensure that whatever the model is giving is ensure it's fair. And the most important aspect of it is also explainability, right? So we have to ensure whatever the model that the output is getting, we are able to explain it, right? So when a model is taking a decision that that this particular build is a risky build or this is the functionalities has to be focused, we have to ensure we should be able to explain it. We should be able to understand why the model is responding because of certain reasons. So the fairness, testing or constant, validation in the production model is very important. And again, we have talked about in the operation while operating the model. So the continuous monitoring, human in the loop. Whenever the model is giving an output, we have to ensure that the feedback loop is there, and we are able to audit it very consistently. So there are different levels in which you have to make sure the data is very correct and also it is not getting biased. The constant checks and loops is where we will make sure that the model is not biased.
So data, that also another initiates another interesting aspect. We have been talking about AI, and we have been talking in a very generic sense, like the overall software development teams, organizations. But there is a role of an industry as well. So, for example, the way data is managed and processed in a BFSI or in a healthcare industry is very different. So, the implementation of an AI-based tooling in those kind of industries would be a little bit different as well. So, taking the approach in other way around, like Suraj, I want to start off with you. Like, what's your take on this? What role does an industry ecosystem plays when we have to do a implementation of AI, specifically in the quality assurance processes?
Yeah, well, that's again another interesting question.
Yeah.
See, I will rather tell, I think it starts right from creating an awareness, okay, for your organization, for your teams, for your employees. What kind of trainings or workshops do you arrange for your teams? How do you enable your teams to start adopting AIs? like let's say an example, one of the initiatives we ourselves also took maybe a few months before is kind of creating a mandate for every engineer in the organization to become AI enabled as it. So we want to position ourselves like an AI engineer or an AI centric company. So that's what is first a basic initiative that possibly we can do to coach, mentor our teams, and obviously they themselves become the other factors to see that they influence other teams whom they work with. Tomorrow they also work with certain clients or certain projects, same does the client team also start adopting it. While it starts from there, second could be another interesting important aspect is about documenting whatever you learn. See, not that every AI place where you go and adopt a AI or maybe want to implement becomes a first a huge time success for you. There could be certain learnings, there could be certain pitfalls. It's not that you want to success, it's still in an evolving stage, all of us know. So how do you do that? What how do we ensure that what possible learnings you have got in one of the places carries forward to the other organization? I think the example that you I think took very well in terms of the banking and healthcare customers. You see the kind of regulatory constraints they have in terms of the data privacy. Today also, if we go and if we tell, okay, we have an AI solution for you, the immediate obvious question which will come back to you is how is your AI prevalent for the data security or data confidentiality? And we have to be prepared for it. As in, you can't just go and tell, okay, we have a solution that will work. Nobody will be interested to even listen to you. As in. So you need to start looking at how the organizations have to start looking at how can you actually develop certain small, let's say, lean models, SLM models, which can work within the premise, within the network, within the data centers, so that you can give that kind of trust to not just your clients but also to your organization. Another thing could be possibly to look at the market events also, even like the webinar that we are talking about right now is an interesting. I think it's also a good opportunity for all of us to listen. Rather, I've been listening from all of us for the last 30, 45 minutes. I'm also learning something new. I think some of the forums I may have heard about something before. This is also a good thing. So we should encourage our employees to attend all such webinars, events, to see a lot of other aspects, because when we hear industry veterans sharing their experiences, live actual experiences, rather than going through some book knowledge or maybe some content in the internet which somebody has written for some self, doesn't work. So that's what we'll have to do. Another thing, maybe something which could be a thing for us to look about in future is a cultural shift also. That's also another thing which we have experienced in the recent past. So many of them could be inclined, some of them may not be very much inclined because they are very much affiliated towards using high technology kind of tools. So how do you get their interest also in such kind of tools or such kind of technology? How do you make AI also a maybe an element for which they will also be get excited? Their involvement also becomes a huge aspect, and possibly they are able to take this kind of thing to a very next level rather than leveraging. So you have to see AI as a technology from all different perspectives. It's not only for beginners or amateurs who are just kind of beginning on the journey on the technology. It can also be for the advanced experts or intermediates who have already moved to a certain level, and they may take this technology to a future which we all may have not even thought of. I think that's where I think many of our organizations have to really see, and we see that kind of adoption coming sooner.
Those are pretty interesting points. Organization, what should be the role in adopting it? So, Rutvik, coming to you, I think this is a pretty broad question itself, and I'm sure you would have something to expand on it. Uh, the role of an industry ecosystem on this AI adoption, like what, anything more you can help to add to it?
Yeah, I think I kind of concur with what Sudha said, right? So I broadly look at onto three dimensions for any of these initiatives, right? One is who, right? Who is all of us, right? The problem, and I'm seeing some of the questions also, there is an apprehension, right? Whether AI is the right thing for me, AI is not right thing for me, right? So all this enablement, we are, for example, in Cognizant, we are driving a lot of those enablement exercise with a lot of hyperscalers, right? Or this, like Sudha said, this sort of a forum, right? All of this helps in building the awareness that AI is complementing your stuff, and AI is something would help you out, right? So awareness, focusing on the who part. Uh, then second part is what, right? So what AI basically does very nicely is can do a lot of your routine stuff, right? But you still need an idea of what exactly you wanted to do with AI, right? Do you want to do some writing? Do you want to do a test case generation? Do you want to do X thing, Y thing, right? And that's where you need industry ecosystem can play a role by bringing a lot of people together, right? Do a lot of brainstorming together and help in identifying real problem where AI can play a role rather than some of the unnecessary work where we are forcefully adding the AI into the piece, right? So the use case brainstorming again, probably industry can play a role at a large, where by bringing a lot of people together of a diverse in a nature, and that's what we talk about design thinking. We want to bring a lot of diverse people in one place, right? Industry ecosystem can do that, right? And third is the how, right? How is you get more and you remove this apprehension of security, for example. Again, a lot of our customers in BFAs healthcare, first question that they come, okay, AI, what about data, what about security, like Mobin said, Suraj said, right? So how can, as the industry, maybe we can have some self-regulation, we can have kind of a kind of better governance structure in a place, right, which will help in removing those apprehension and can flow AI bit more smoothly, right? And that way we avoid those kind of a bureaucracy around that area, and help moving this initiative a bit further, right? So I think these are the areas, apart from what Suraj is already nicely articulate. I think these are the areas where definitely industry as a body, as a ecosystem can help in flooding AI in a right way.
Awesome. So I think we just have 5 more minutes to the session. So I want to close it off with a practical case study example. So we have talked about a lot like how AI can be helpful, but you guys have been implementing AI in your workflow for some time. And what would be one advice that you would give to fellow companies who are starting to do that, that they should be, I will say, beware of, right? What would be the one biggest challenge that they will face when implementing the AI in their workflow? Based on your experience. So I'll take, because we have just 5 minutes, one example from each. So Rani Priya, starting with you, what do you think would be that one advice you give to companies when they start implementing this?
In my view, any AI tool has its heart as a model. The model is the heart of any AI tool, and the oxygen for the tool comes from the data. So the AI tool is only as good as the training which goes into it and the data which goes into the training. So it's very important that for the specific business problem which an organization is trying to solve, it has sufficient amount of data, the historical data, which is good quality data, which is good volume of data and good variety of data. So without all this, the training of the AI does not happen properly, and ultimately the output of the AI model will not be accurate. So the benefit of AI will not happen without the right kind of data and the right kind of training. So the data is the most important thing which I would advise any organization which is embarking on this journey.
Mobin, your take on it.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, if you draw a corollary, right, with the self-driving car and its evolution, right, there was so many hours of testing that went into it, but then it just took one polythene bag running around, right, to have an accident. So I think it is about us, drawing that line. Where do we have reliance on AI as a capability? Is that an enabler for you to bring in more productivity? Or is it something that you're going to completely use as a mechanism to replace QA professionals, right? So I think that drawing that balance is probably where the critical thinking has to go in terms of, as the industry matures, as Gen AI and other capabilities mature, the evolution and that ability to contribute more, right, in terms of efficiencies is going to go up. So making those diligent steps, and I know QA is always a cost center, right? It is viewed as a cost center. So any mechanism or levers that are available, it typically goes to that extreme, adoption levels of adoption. So I think that's where drawing that balance, would be critical in my mind, right? There would be very fancy use cases which come up, but then you just need to figure out how much of that is practically usable, right? And to Priya's point, like, how much data backing does it have, right? Before it becomes mainstream, right? For example, drug certification in FDA goes through different variations of uh, trials, right? Clinical trials, different stages before it becomes mainstream. So take that, pace it, based on maturity, based on level of comfort, and don't use this as a mechanism to kind of change things drastically, at least till we get the level of confidence that we need. So I would say that would be a good kind of message from an adoption and maturity standpoint.
So you just uttered a word that is kind of something we have not even discussed so far, and I feel I'm pretty excited now to start doing that. The QA practitioner. So we have been talking about organizations so far. Now I think as last point, Sati, starting with you, like what would be your one advice to the next generation of quality assurance leaders, practitioners? What one advice you give them to prepare to in this age of AI?
Yeah, no, I think from the whole organization standpoint as a team, I think adding to what Priya and Mubin mentioned, I would say that we should look at AI solution differently, right? I think that's a kind of a where we get an I think the AI solution, the performance, we have to continuously monitor it. I think many times what the practical issue what we do is we build a solution, we integrate it, and then we feel it's going to provide us the same level of accuracy and performance over the period of time. So the most important thing is define the metrics. So how are you going to monitor your AI performance, and continuous human in the loop, do a regular audit of the output. So that will ensure, I think, the whatever we are building, it's very reliant, and then it is very accurate. So that's very important. Now then again, other aspect is the change management, because when you're rolling out a solution, AI process into your existing process, we have to really enable the team to adopt it. Whatever insight the AI is providing, how they're going to consume that as part of their day-to-day activity, and making your workforce adopt the AI. It's something it's a very important step in the whole adoption.
So, Suraj, one advice you would give to future generation?
My 2 cents on AI for even those who like AI and for even those who are still kind of exploring AI, whether it will really benefit them or not, is to look at the return on investment. Okay, so we usually become very overwhelmed, okay, with what we want to actually achieve through AI, and possibly by the time we realize what is the kind of outcome we are trying to achieve, it's far too late. So my only submission here is be very clear on the objectives, goals that we really want to achieve. AI is there for you. Technology is kind of evolving every day, but at the same time, also look at in terms of what we really want to achieve. I think that then solves the problems in terms of how much you want to go, because AI is going to help you in all the ways that we are trying to look for. It's only that what is the kind of case or what is the kind of business value you want to derive depends upon the amount of investments also you want to make, because AI has kind of values on all the different levels, from the smallest of the smallest till the greatest. I think it's there, isn't it? But it's all up to
R-
us if we want to start. Yeah.
ROI, my favorite point. So the
Yeah.
startup ROI is something everybody is very conscious of. Ritvik,
Yeah.
last, your take on what should the future generation prepare themselves for?
Yeah, I think problem is I have to always say that I agree with Suraj. So that's how it is. I agree with Suraj. Yeah, but yeah, I think very fair point, right? Because I've been doing a few discussions other in some other forums as well, right? First thing that I will say is that accept that AI is there, right? Let's not have any doubt whether AI will be there or not. AI is there. AI will be there, right? How much you would need to utilize it, that's exactly where I am in agreement with Suraj, right? You don't need to over engineer, right? You pick the right use cases where you will get a maximum benefit, the ROI, your favorite word, or point of value, or there are a lot of jargons that is roaming around, right? So you identify which one will definitely benefit you, and three, upskill yourself, right? Because no matter how many sessions that you will hear and clarify your doubt, until and unless you dirty your hands, right, you will not be able to get that, right? So accept, choose the right use case and upskill to achieve that, right? That's my probably one-liner advice to all my fellow people.
Awesome. So with that, we are at the end. I'm already 5 minutes over. My team is pinging me. Let's end the session. We have to start new ones. But again, thank you all, Rani, Mobin, Suraj, Satish, Ritvik, for taking time out, walking us through your perspectives, your insights, your experience. It has been a really great session. Even I learned a lot, and I'm quite sure everybody here would have learned a lot from the, I will say, combined 100+ years of experience everybody here has. So it was a pretty insightful sessions. Thanks for joining us. We were not able to take a lot of questions, but I see the questions, and I think most of the things we already covered in our talk. So I don't think we have to take anything from over there. So, but yeah, thank you for being the part of this discussion.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
So for the people wondering, this again, want to highlight the session is recorded. We'll share the recording with you soon. Do check out our rest of the sessions. We have an exciting lineup for you going forward as well. Happy testing.
Thank you.
Right.
Happy testing.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.